Oh, and we are live. Welcome to the Ashes Rubies live stream, Life in Recovery. This is our morning meditation time. Good morning, Vicky. How are you feeling today? Friday. Oh, you're feeling clean and serene. What does it mean to be clean as a Al-Anon?
Not all caught up in somebody else's
Business. Yeah, that's good. I like in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Not living in drama.
Where it says, like we always say, like, what's your clean date? And so I can have a clean date, but was I really recovered or sober? And then in the big book, it says, once the drink is put down, that's a great start. That's just the start, because you got the ism, the I, self, me.
Oh yeah.
So I think recovered really means recovered really means that God is solving my problems. God is doing for me what I can't do for myself. I am connected. There's a connection there. Connection to God. I'm recovered. What's your favorite thing right now? Now that we're going into fall, what's your favorite thing that you have?
I don't have anything that is a favorite. I can't think of anything.
If somebody asked me that, I would say,
what's your favorite thing
right now? I would say the smoker or the Google Nest. We got the Google Nest Mini, and I don't know what your opinions of spyware are, but I think it's at the top of the spyware chain. That in your phone. Your phone is never not listening to you. So whatever. I don't have much to spy on, but nonetheless, we have a mini Google Nest in our home. Hello, Google. And it plays music, and we ask it things. It's a little bit long-winded sometimes, so it's a bit annoying. And then we thought it would be a good idea to have one in the kitchen. Oh, in our bedroom. So we have one on the living room and then our bedroom. And then we thought I said it would be a great idea if we had one in the kitchen, because you're in the kitchen and this one does this. And then we thought that would be a great idea. So we saw a deal on Kijiji and we bought 3 of them. So we have.
When you say it like that, sounds a little bit crazy.
Yeah, when I said it out loud, I hadn't said that out loud before.
We have a very small house, so you can literally talk to Google, and like 4 Googles will answer you.
Yeah, no, not that. They're better than that. But you've linked them together, so then you can the music group them
by floor.
So it's phenomenal, and it plays your YouTube channel and your Spotify playlist.
If I talk to it, it plays Spotify. If you talk to it, it plays YouTube.
It's very intuitive. It knows my voice and it knows your voice. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cool and creepy at the same time. I remember way back we went to Fredericton. Am I saying it right?
Sure.
And in the Airbnb, they had Alexa, and I was like a little bit paranoid because Alexa could hear us. Mm-hmm. It could do all the things. It could turn on lights and all that stuff. I believe I unplugged Alexa at one point.
And now you're not paranoid anymore.
I'm not paranoid. Nothing.
Look at you at one of my hairs in your beard.
It happens. I'm not paranoid about the. I just wanna think that the spyware that's spying on me is about consumerism and trying to convince me to buy stuff that I don't need.
That's exactly what it's trying to do.
Outside of that, I don't really. Does it matter?
When I got the notice that I won the prize.
Won the prize.
I Googled it.
Oh yeah, the prize. Vicky's a winner.
I Googled it to check and see, like, is this for real? Like, is this legit? And then found their page and looked it up. And now I keep getting advertisements for the airline and the hotel chain.
Oh, I bet you did. Oh, you're giving what you want away. You can't give it away yet. It hasn't been confirmed.
They haven't sent me all the details. I signed a waiver, but they haven't sent me all the details.
There was skill testing questions involved.
Keep now getting advertisements for that hotel chain and that
you're
airline.
Getting spam. That's what they do. The algorithms of even talking. I talked about a rehab center. I see the ad all the time. All the time. When you look up, but that's what advertising should be.
It's not coming from what you talk about when you're not actually like, because it goes dormant. So it's only listening to you after you say okay.
Oh, you're making me feel so much better about the spyware.
Do you want me to read?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Let's get into our morning meditation on this beautiful Friday, gray day. Here we go.
People in trouble look for help and often ask for it in the shape of advice from the more seasoned members
Somebody look up the definition of advice
who are
and post it.
also willing to help them. My husband comes home drunk and turns on the TV and keeps us awake. What should I do? He was arrested for fighting. What should I do? I'm sick of sitting at home all the time. He never takes me anywhere. What should I do? The more experienced member realizes that we don't tell anybody what to do. People only accept and use the advice they're ready for. Helping the newcomer apply Al-Anon principles to all problems is a vital part of the learning process through which all of us grow. Then we will know how to make the decisions that are best for us and have the courage to see them through. Today's reminder: when I'm asked for advice, I know only what I would do if I were faced with the same problem and not what would be right for another. Good advice in Al-Anon takes the form of gentle guidance into Al-Anon principles so people can find the right answers for themselves. I cannot solve anyone else's problem. I can, however, show how problem solving is done by using the program.
Yeah, by exemplary your life examples.
So,
oh, this is a heavy topic for the Al-Anon. The Al-Anon loves giving advice, but so does the alcoholic. We love to give the advice because we want to be the higher power. Mm-hmm. So you come to me and I will help you solve all your problems because I know what's best. The best advice, and we have the definition: advice, guidance, or recommendations offered with regard to prudent future actions. So I think there's some advice that is good. Like if we're working together and you're like, hey, what should I do about this emailer? Like, does this look good or does this look better? Or I think there's consultants that can give advice. I think that the doctor is great at giving direction and advice. I'm not sure if they're the same thing, but if you're working with, if you have the program within you, if you have God and God is solving all of your problems and you're the light, there's going to be a lot of people that come to you because darkness, people in the dark are attracted to the light and they want freedom from the darkness. And so all of a sudden you have 5 or 8 people calling you and their life is in crisis. And their marriages and their boyfriends and their girlfriend and their money, and they're asking you for advice. Mm. And the first project in Alcoholics Anonymous is you ask the person, do you want to be sober for the rest of your life? And here's the big book. Read it. We'll see you next week. And like, that's all the advice to begin a relationship. And do you think people that really want to get clean, whatever the context is, if they really want to, then they're going to go towards that direction. If they don't, then they're going to find somebody else to give them great advice, because there is a lot of people with great advice, consultants all over the place. It says, we live by these principles. What are the principles? What are some of the principles? Prudent, acting with or showing care and thought for the future. Great advice is ask God. Good advice is ask God. The best advice.
That's really frustrating for a newcomer, though, who's in so much turmoil. And so, often like the extent of advice that I remember getting is like, just keep coming back. Like you need to do something for yourself. Like you need to keep coming back. Mm-hmm. And so,
but I think that's great advice of asking God, take it to prayer and meditation. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, I don't even know what that means. God doesn't speak to me. Yes, I know, because you're not connected to God, but you have intuition that God's going to give you. So when you're asking about this horrible situation that you find yourself living in, and it might be borderline abusive, or they might be taking money from you. They might be, doing things that they're crossing your boundaries. Just use your intuition and say, okay, this is enough. Like, I'm not going to live in this environment anymore. And I'm going to make the necessary adjustments to change that. And that's the intuition of God. And I think that where God is leading somebody into, now you ask for help.
Being present to listen to people is far more important than what comes out of my mouth. Like the fact that I'm available to sit here and listen, or to take your phone call and to give you a space where you can talk out loud about what you need to process, is in my opinion, more valuable than the advice that comes out of my mouth. Right? You need a place where you can talk out loud. You have something to say. I'm waiting.
Finish your thought.
You need a place where you can talk out loud.
Oh, that was
people need a place where they can verbally, like, out loud process, because I don't know how many times I said something out loud and then I'd be like, well, that sounds really crazy. As if I'm living like this.
Don't you find, like, when you talk about the craziness, you actually start...
Well, like, it really, the more I started talking about it out loud, like the way that we were living, I was like, oh, wow, yeah.
And you don't even need anybody to give advice.
I don't need you to say anything.
I've had more conversations with people that leave and haven't said anything. And they're like, oh, of course. Like,
that's the best way.
Thank you so much.
But they need someone to be present and to, like, you know, the new language that we use now is hold space. You know, I'm just like holding this space for you to, like, talk and making eye contact with you and hearing and nodding and maybe ask some questions. That's like, really good. I've done that where I've asked questions. Okay, so if you do that, like, where do you see that going? How do you think they'll respond? Or, you know, do you have another option? Like, is there any other options? I often ask that. I will ask that of, like, what do you think are your options?
What is your past experiences taught you on this
last
topic?
Year, I started meeting with a woman who was demanding advice from me. Like, what do I do? What do I do? I need to know what to do. I said, what are your options? And so she talked through, like, you know, basically she started with, I don't have any. And then she talked through, like, one option. And then I pushed her, like, okay, well, think of, like, something else you could do. What else could you do? So then she talked through a second option. And then she could not, for the life of her, come up with a third option. And I said, me neither. Like, and to be really honest with you, both of those options sound really terrible to me. I'm glad I'm not in your shoes. And let's work together.
And now you're pointing them to God. Going,
and maybe God will show you what your third option is, because those options sound terrible.
Horrible. So the more experienced member, so you could say the member that has good conscious contact with God and living the program, realizes that we don't tell anybody what to do. The book, they say it's suggestive. These are the suggestions. If you know anything about a recipe, there's a final product and there's usually a picture. These are the suggested measurements and timelines to get this product. Whether you want to do that or not, you're going to get a different product. So it's not about, like, picking what and choosing what you want to do. If you want this result, this is the recipe on how to do it.
But that's different. That's a recipe. It's a set of instructions. We don't go to a fellowship. We don't go to a 12-step program. We don't go to, we're not going there for a set of instructions. Like, you do this and then this will happen. Like, a baking recipe is a set of instructions. If I do all these things just the way, I will get this result.
So the point of the book of the 12 steps is to lead somebody into a relationship with God. And in the first forward of the first edition, it says this is precisely how we've done it. Ooh. So it is an instruction manual to get a final product and to become a child of God.
But it's not like, well, if you say this to your husband, he's going to respond like this. It's like you and God. No, if you do these things, this is the relationship that you will get with a power greater than yourself, who will restore you to sanity.
Yeah. We don't want to tell anybody what to do. People only accept and use the advice they're ready for. Helping the newcomer apply the Al-Anon principles to all problems is a vital part of the learning process. So what are the principles? Simple principles right off the hop is love and tolerance of everyone. We cease fighting everything and everyone. We live the 12 steps. We don't beat people over the head or give them advice through the 12 steps. It's better to give than to receive. Maximum service to God and those around us. So those are, like, the vital beginning principles that are contrary to the principles that we actually live by. A principle is a rule. Those are my suggestions for today. All right. Thank you for joining us. Keep the peace and be of good behavior. And in the comments, give us some advice. No, yeah. We really want your advice and feedback. So feel free to pile them in the comments.
There is a time and a place for advice, but there's like a group like Al-Anon or AA or even like I've been in lots of like Bible study groups and church groups where what I needed was I needed to talk to God. I needed to be in a place where I could talk out loud.
Thanks, Karen. Keep doing what we're doing. That's the advice. And I think we kind of answered that. When I don't hear God, well, I need to just be still. And I need to like use my intuition. And like what you said is like, go to other people and just talk. Don't go to a meeting and do that, but go to your sponsor, go to your pastor, go to some friends that aren't going to give you advice, but be a sounding board and ask you really good questions, and then use the intuition that you have. When I was talking to my mentor, he owned a bookstore, and they would once a year have a theft preventionist come in, and the theft preventionist said to them, "You know who a thief is and who a thief isn't. You intuitively know that." And then it's like, oh, like, how do you know that? So then he describes on how you would know that. He goes, as soon as a person walks in, you have an intuitive thought of knowing who a thief is. And so as a really good floor walker, they're trained to actually pick up on all the details. I thought that was really interesting. So God actually gives us intuition before we can hear this audible voice. And so use your intuition, start there. All right. Love everybody. I just blew a kiss. Have a great weekend. We will see you Saturday. If you live in Ottawa, we got our second in a row Ashes to Rubies shows. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a lit one. It's going to be, I don't have any other cool words, but come and hang out Saturday night at 7:30. We will see you then. Goodbye.